Good morning. Good morning. Make sure that you have a good day, Miss Liz, and be careful out there. And I hope your checkup goes well. And everything. I hope your doctor's appointment, your checkup goes well. And I hope you get back good results from all of your checkups. That's all I got to say about that. I'm trying to make sure right quick that everything is set up in my YouTube studio the way that I want it to, right quick. I got to check all that. Got to check all that. And actually click into my actual live so that I can keep an eye on it. Unlike we hear about content creators that don't do that. I have to do that. I have to make sure everything's straight for my people. Now, I want to make sure that everybody knows to remember this is your med check reminder. Please take your medications. Don't be like me and forget your medications with your ADHD, Team Neurodivergent. So please take your medications today. This is your med check reminder. Okay, so, I've been watching a little bit what's been going on, but I've been so busy. I'm so sorry to everybody. Usually I'm the supportive person and I'm in everybody's live. You see me everywhere. But this week I've been kind of busy. I probably will be a little bit next week too. I'm still going to try to be a little bit more present. My father-in-law's down from New York right now, and we've been, he's getting stuff together for them to build a house down here. So, we don't know exactly when completion is going to happen and all these other things, right? So I don't know what exact dates they'll be moving here, but they're busy taking care of that stuff. And so they have to come down to take care of it, right? Because they're all the way in New York. And so this week he's down and we've been having a good old time. I love my father and mother-in-law. I love them with a passion. They are such good people. Like I consider myself very lucky to have an extra bonus mom and dad because I already have my mom and dad who are amazing, right? But I just, I think it makes it harder on people when they have really crappy in-laws. And so I count myself very lucky that I have amazing. I call them my bonus mom and dad. So I count myself very lucky for that. They're amazing people. I love them to death. I think they're the sweetest people I've ever met in my life. And I count myself lucky. Not only did I get an amazing partner in life, but I got a partner who has an amazing parents. And sometimes you'll get one or the other, but sometimes you don't get both, right? And so I think I count myself lucky that I feel like I got both, right? I feel like I got an amazing mother-in-law, amazing father-in-law, amazing partner, all of it at the same time. So, I feel like I got the best of both worlds when it comes to that situation. But today on this Freaky Spooky Friday, and I think I am going to keep it as Freaky Spooky Friday. I don't know. I might change it in the future. You never know about me. We are going to look at the story of Lizzie Borden. Because the other day, my beautiful Mata, and I'm pretty sure she's probably not here right now because she's busy, and that's okay. She might catch the replay. You know what I'm saying? And for all those that are in the clouds, thank you for being here. If y'all could just hit that like button, that's all I ask. If you want to support the channel, become a member. And we are going to be doing game night again. I'm probably going to set it up for either later this afternoon or Sunday or maybe Wednesday or Thursday of next week. I'm not exactly sure when. I'll let y'all know. I'll put it on my community wall so y'all know, right? Because I do want the subscribers to try the games, right? So that y'all can understand what we're going to be doing in members only. And every time I get a YouTube check from YouTube, I'm putting the money back from the memberships into the games so that we can have more games to play because it costs about $30, $40, $50 for those packs of games, right? So I'm going to put that back in there every time I get a little bit of check from YouTube. I'm going to put it back into the channel so that I can give more and a fun time to the members. I'm telling y'all, these games are fun. When I first played them, when my friends started doing it years ago, I fell in love with them. I thought it was the funnest thing. And I'm telling you, you just got to try it. once you try it for the first time, you'll have so much fun. Even VS will tell y'all, she thought it was going to be bull crap too. And then she tried it and she was like, well, what? This is actually pretty fun, you know? And it's a way for us to decompress with, you know, sometimes this sector, we love the sector, and I love the beef sector. Y'all know the beef sector is my home, right? But sometimes, right, and even in like the black sector, the Mo3 sector, and all these other sectors of YouTube, sometimes the drama can get too much for our mental health. So what I want to do, and I'm that positive person, I want to basically make it to where we can have fun together and have a fun old time with these games and take our mind off of it. And we can still roast and gag each other in the games. That's what you don't see when you play Quiplash. You can still do that. So it could still be fun. Hey, Creole. Oh, will you be careful? There's a lot of people at their medical tune-up today. You be careful out there. And Smooch is beautiful. And I'll be there when you, speaking of which, y'all, if you're into, I want to do this for Miss Creole. Y'all know how much I love my Creole, my sister from another mister. She will be doing an interview, and she's already got it set up. So what we're going to do right now is I'm just going to go to her channel. And I'm going to grab the link so y'all can set y'all can subscribe and you can set your notifications for this. She's going to be doing an interview with a very popular Christian man named St. James. Okay. And then on the 17th, and I can't wait for that, Creole girl. You know I'm gonna be up there singing my gospel up in the karaoke. She's gonna have a gospel karaoke night. It'll be 6:05 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The St. James interview will be the 9th, January the 9th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to actually share this interview live with y'all. And I'm going to create a post on my community wall so that people will know what day that is. It's live in 20 days. So you got plenty of time to remember it and all that. I'll make sure I do share the date of also. And, that way you'll have that. But I was going to share the live link, but I realized it's going to knock you out of this chat if you do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share her channel and y'all subscribe to it and turn on your notifications so that when she does these lives, you'll be able to be there. So she's going to have a very important interview coming up. So make sure y'all support Creole Butterfly. On the 9th, she's having an interview. Hey, Red Wings. She's having an interview with St. James. And I don't know if y'all heard about St. James, but even if you don't know the man, he's very large in the Christian world. Then you can go up there and watch and learn a little bit more about him with the interview, right? And then she's going to have gospel karaoke on the 17th. I'm hoping the 17th is not a Saturday because y'all know Saturdays are my husband's days, and I very rarely ever make an exception for that. So let me check to see what January 1st on the 7th. Ooh, it's on a Friday, so I'm good to go. I'm good to go. Yes. I'm good to go, Creole, for that. I'll be there with bells on. Hey, Toxic Orchid. Good morning. So basically, I was letting everybody know that Miss Creole Butterfly will be doing an interview with St. James, and she's going to be and that's going to be on the 9th. And then she's going to be doing gospel karaoke on the 17th. So y'all know I'm turning up for some karaoke. Y'all know I love when Very Carey does karaoke night. It's one of my favorite things. I love to sing. Y'all know that. That's just like when I set those goals for the super chat things or whatever. I set it for, one of them was you get to choose the subject of my next video, or you get to choose what song I sing on my next video. And I haven't set up one today. I was just playing around with it. I really, don't fully understand it or whatnot. So, you know, I just playing around with it because it's something new that they're doing. And, you know, I'm not sure. And so I really don't know how that thing works yet. But I guess it's just a way to, I'm going to start one just for the play with it, but y'all don't have to worry about it. Happy Friday, y'all. Happy Friday. So today I'm going to get into the Lizzie Borden case. Everybody knows about Lizzie Borden, right? And you know about the old saying, Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her father 40 whacks, and then she gave her mother 41 or something. I don't know. I can't remember it all by heart every minute of the day. But so I do have two things pulled up about the history of it, though. Because here's the thing, we can talk about, you know, the supernatural aspect of it. A lot of people say, and the house is still there. You can take a tour. That you can take a tour of the Lizzie Borden house. You can actually stay there. It's a bed and breakfast. And you know, one of these days, as my son gets older, I might actually go take a trip to see the Lizzie Borden house. You never know. It's in Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken. You know, right now I'm not looking directly at it. I'm looking at y'all, but it is a very truly interesting case. And the other day, one of my beautiful moderators said they'd never heard of the Lizzie Borden case. So I thought that I would bring it up and show some people who may have not ever heard of Lizzie Borden, which to me is kind of strange. It's just the fact you must not ever watch horror movies, because almost every, like, my favorite show, Supernatural. I love the show Supernatural. They covered it, you know, just like they covered one of my favorite stories is the Crossroads deal that happened here in my state of Mississippi. Down south Mississippi, you know, that's where supposedly the first Crossroads deal ever happened with a blues legend who is a real man. And so it's very interesting to look at that case too, because you know, we don't know if it's true, obviously, or not, but it's very interesting the fact that people say he really was not a good blues musician, then all of a sudden he really was. But how are we to know he didn't just learn? You know, because I mean, you can get better at your craft if you just take the time. Yes. See, they have now, you know, they have all the horror shows, Toxic Orchid, right? About Lizzie Borden, and they have all the shows, but do they ever tell like the history and how Lizzie Borden was a Sunday school teacher? And you know, there's a fact of Lizzie Borden lived to be a very old age, and her sister actually moved in together. So if you look at the after effects after she was found not guilty, there's a lot of history, and she passed away as an older lady, and I can't remember if she ever got married or had children after that, because she almost became a pariah, and people were like, ooh, you know, she literally got a stigma attached to her. And so, you know, no matter how pretty she was as a lady, that does, like, people obviously didn't want to deal with her. So she never got married. She never had children, because if you imagine what happened to her, even, okay, statistically, let's say she didn't do it. Could you imagine for the rest of your life, let's play devil's advocate here, you're accused of killing your father and stepmother, and everybody doesn't like you. Everybody assumes you did it. You never get to have a husband or children because you're ostracized everywhere you go. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine that being you? Let's say you didn't do it. Let's say you didn't do it at all, and you had nothing to do with it. And technically, you could have got too, because they say that the killer was hiding in the house waiting for her dad to come home, and she had been at the house. Let's say she didn't do it. Could you imagine also realizing, going, oh my God, that could have been me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say, like, look at it from different prospects. And if she did do it, she got away with it. You know what I'm saying? So you could look at it from 50 different. I don't know what just fell, y'all. I hope that didn't break my change. I think that was my little change thing, and I think it fell over, and I hope it didn't break. I'm about to check on it. It fell off the table somehow or another. I don't know, but I'll check it in just a little bit. It's okay. It's OB Underways. Let me go ahead and screen share. We're going to read the history. I think I'm going to start with this page first, and then I have another page we're going to bring up. Okay. Let me make sure that everything looks good where y'all can read it along with me. Make sure everything's zoomed in. Can y'all see that very well? Yeah. Well, heck, I was talking about Lizzie Borden, y'all. The ghost might be trying to get me too, child. Woo-wee. Okay. Sunday school teacher, this is called Beyond the 40 Wax, the story of the infamous Lizzie Borden murders. Sunday school teacher Lizzie Borden became a media sensation when she was accused of murdering her father and stepmother with an axe on August the 4th, 1892. But was she guilty? In 1892, a grisly crime rocked the quiet town of Fall River, Massachusetts. Andrew Borden and his wife Abby had been found brutally murdered, bludgeoned to death by an axe. While police didn't know who to blame at first, suspicion soon fell on Andrew's 32-year-old daughter, Lizzie Borden. A spinster and Sunday school teacher from a well-off family, Lizzie Borden seemed like the last person capable of committing a horrific crime. The cops struggled to find another suspect in the murder case, and they couldn't help but notice that Lizzie's story kept changing. Now, this is an actual picture of Lizzie Borden, the real Lizzie Borden. This is a portrait that was in her home. And it was taken a couple of years before Andrew and Abby were murdered in 1892. Ultimately, the young woman never admitted to committing the murders, but her 1893 trial captivated the entire nation. While she was eventually acquitted, this only deepened the mystery. Did Lizzie Borden kill her father and stepmother? If so, why? And if she didn't, then who did? The day of the Borden axe murders. Now, this is the actual picture of the house circa 1892. And the house absolutely looks exactly the same. Obviously, some buildings around it may or may have not have changed since then because, you know, land does sell off and things do change a little. But the house itself, they have kept it as natural as they can. Obviously, good morning, Miss Tracy. Thank you so much, Toxic Orchid. Oh, it's okay, James. Sometimes notifications aren't always awesome. That's why you share out, you know. Okay, let me read. This is the actual house. We're talking about if you're just coming in, we're talking about the Lizzie Borden case. And we're going over information, actual, you know, some of the historical information about Lizzie Borden. At first, August the 4th, 1892 started out as a normal day at the Borden house in Fall River, Massachusetts. The family maid, Bridget Sullivan, served breakfast to Andrew and Abby Borden while Lizzie slept upstairs. Before long, Andrew went into town and Abby decided to straighten up the guest room in the home where Lizzie's uncle had slept the night before. The Bordens were a prosperous family and well respected in Fall River. Andrew had been married to his first wife, Sarah, until her death and married his second wife a few years later. His two daughters, Emma and Lizzie, were known for being well behaved and devoutly Christian. But all was not well beneath the surface at the Borden house. Although Abby had been their stepmother, that's the picture of the father and the stepmother, nearly all their lives, Emma and Lizzie didn't like her, and Lizzie really wanted the family to move to a nicer part of town. So this is Andrew and Abby Borden, right here, the real pictures of them. the portraits of them. That August tension, they're undated, so we really don't know with these pictures exactly when they were taken or portraits. So that could have been a younger picture of her, and that could have been an older picture of him. We really don't know exactly when. The August tension in the Borden family were particularly taut. For one thing, it was extremely hot outside, and the Borden family had felt unwell for the past couple of days, perhaps because of bad mutton stew. But the morning of August the 4th, everyone except for Sullivan felt more or less back to normal. So after Andrew Borden left for town, Abby climbed the stairs to the guest room to make the bed and tidy up. And in the oppressive heat of the August morning, someone followed her. Later on, Andrew Borden returned from town. He asked Lizzie where Abby had gone, to which his daughter replied that Mrs. Borden had left the house. According to Lizzie, her stepmother had received a note about a sick friend. Andrew believed the story. He settled down on the sofa in the sitting room as Sullivan, still feeling unwell, went to take a nap in her room. But soon the maid was awoken by a scream. It was Lizzie Borden calling for Sullivan and crying that her father was dead. Inside the murders of Andrew and Abby Borden. Now, this seems a little graphic, but they do have his face kind of covered up with a sheet a little bit. So this is an actual, real picture of what he looked like when they found him. Yeah. Shortly after the discovery of Andrew Borden's body, Sullivan fled the house to find a doctor. But in the meantime, Lizzie's screaming had attracted the attention of several neighbors who called the police. Slowly, a curious crowd began to gather around the Borden residence. At this point, Abby's whereabouts were still unknown. Lizzie Borden told her concerned neighbors the same story she had told her father, that her stepmother had received a note asking her to visit a sick friend. Lizzie also mentioned that her parents had been ill in the previous days and that she suspected that their milk had been poisoned. After Sullivan returned with a local doctor named Siberry Bowen, the maid went to see if Abby was upstairs and found her dead body lying face down. She was surrounded by a pool of her own blood. This is literally how they found and discovered her. Obviously, pictures back then, it's hard to necessarily see details, which is kind of good. We don't want to see her head. That's the way she was found. It was later determined that Abby Borden had been struck 19 times with a hatchet, and Andrew had been hit 11 times with the same weapon. While Andrew was hit fewer times, his corpse was extremely gruesome. One of Andrew's eyes had been cut in half, and his nose had been completely severed from his face. Meanwhile, Abby's blood was darker and congealed. This led Bowen to believe that she had been killed first. But who had killed them? Unfortunately, the case of the Borden murders would yield far more questions than answers. The investigation into the Borden murders. Now, that's the actual pictures of their skulls. The one on the left is the father, and the one on the right is the stepmother, I believe. And then that's the axe head. At first, the police did not suspect Lizzie Borden. After all, she was a spinster and Sunday school teacher from a respected family. Plus, Lizzie had sworn to District Attorney Hosea Knowlton that she had been in the barn looking for a piece of iron when the attacks took place. The cops initially believed the murders were perpetrated by a man, most likely a foreigner. Just a few hours later, they arrested an innocent Portuguese immigrant, but that assumption turned out to be one of many dead ends. A bloody hatchet was found on a neighboring farm, but it had been used to kill chickens. A strange man was seen near the Borden's property at the time of the murders, but he had an airtight alibi. Meanwhile, Lizzie Borden's story kept changing. Her claim about searching for iron soon shifted into one about eating pears in the barn loft. There was no physical evidence against her, not even a bloody scrap of clothing. But as the police investigated the double murder, they began to believe that no one else could have done it. While Lizzie Borden was the prime suspect in the murder case, many townspeople came to her defense during her trial. If Abby was killed in the morning, the murderer, assuming it wasn't Lizzie or Sullivan, would have likely been hiding somewhere in the house for hours, awaiting Andrew's return from town. During this time, he or she would have surely risked being spotted by Lizzie or Sullivan. And what about the note Lizzie claimed her stepmother received? Abby had clearly never made it out of the house, so where was it? Lizzie told her friend Alice Russell that her stepmother may have accidentally burned it. Investigators also discovered that the day before the murders took place, Lizzie had tried to buy poisonous prussic acid from a drugstore. She claimed that she needed to put an edge on a seal skin cap, but the clerk had refused to sell it to her, saying that she needed a prescription. After a few days after the murders, Russell saw Lizzie burning one of her dresses at the stove in her house. When Russell asked her why she was doing this, Lizzie said that the dress was stained and could no longer be worn. On August the 8th, Borden attended an inquest hearing during which she provided contradictory information about the murders, raising many eyebrows. By August 11th, she was arrested and put in jail. The infamous trial of Lizzie Borden. And this was actually a magazine that they did back in that time. It was Frank Leslie's Illustrated Weekly. So they actually did like little portraits on the front of that. That was June 29th of 1893. So they literally take a person and they do like, drawings. Back in the day, they didn't necessarily have the best photography and all that. So a lot of times they did, portraits. In 1893, Lizzie Borden was put on trial, and the controversial case soon captivated the nation. Newspaper headlines scream, "Lizzie Borden defense opens." Reporters from Boston and New York crowded the courtroom day after day, calling the Borden murder trial the Great Trial. Our proper Victorian ancestors couldn't fathom that someone among the upper class, especially a woman, could commit such a heinous crime, noted Deborah Allard, a reporter and resident of Fall River. Though Lizzie never testified during the trial, she was still the star of the show. At one point, a piece of tissue paper covering the skull of her father fell to the floor, and Lizzie caught sight of the bludgeoned skull and fainted. But presenting the skulls of the Bordens turned out to work in Lizzie's favor. Her lawyer reasoned that whoever had caused such damage must have been covered in blood after the incident, but Lizzie's clothes were clean. This has led some to believe that she committed the murders naked. This is actually the jurors that were a part of the trial at the time. Back in the day, all men, women were not allowed to serve as jurors back in that time. Which was a source of contention for Lizzie's supporters. Back in those days, women were not allowed to be on the jury stand. And the defense was able to further cloud the water throughout the remainder of the trial. They produced witnesses who claimed to have seen Lizzie leaving the barn at the time of the murders, and witnesses who had seen strange characters around the Borden property. The defense was even able to get the drug clerk testimony struck from the record, calling it irrelevant and prejudicial. Prejudice, basically. They argued that the druggist had misidentified Lizzie Borden. And besides, even if Lizzie was the woman in the store, prussic acid could still be used for innocent purposes. On June 19, 1893, Lizzie was found not guilty of murdering Andrew and Abby. Soon after the dust had settled, Lizzie and her sister Emma, who inherited their father's estate, bought a house in a more fashionable part of Fall River where Lizzie had always wanted to live. The aftermath of Lizzie Borden's acquittal. This is a photo of Lizzie Borden taken in 1890. To this day, her potential involvement in the Borden murders is hotly debated. The sisters lived peacefully together in Fall River until 1904, when Lizzie Borden, now calling herself Elizabeth, met an actress named Nancy O'Neill. The pair formed a strong bond. Some speculate they were lovers, but Emma did not approve of the relationship. 2 years after Lizzie met Nancy, Emma moved out of the house that she shared with Lizzie. As for Lizzie Borden, she lived out the rest of her days in relative quiet and privacy. She died in 1927 at the age of 67, taking anything she knew about the murders to her grave. Nearly a century after her death, people are still debating whether she really killed her father and stepmother or not. But if Lizzie Borden didn't commit the murders, then who did? That's the actual house in today's. They've turned it into a museum. It's now called the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast, and it functions as a museum, and you can stay there because it's a bed and breakfast. Some think that Andrew's illegitimate son, William, committed the crime and that Lizzie and Emma conspired to cover up his involvement. Others believe that the two sisters plotted the murder together, and another line of speculation suggests that Lizzie and Sullivan were having an affair, which somehow led to the murders. Yet others wonder if it could have been the work of someone unrelated to the family. In 2012, journals kept by Lizzie's lawyer, Andrew Jackson Jennings, were obtained by the Fall River Historical Societies. The journals revealed Jennings' direct observation of his client, who history remembers as a cold-blooded and callous. But Jennings saw a sensitive side to Lizzie, a woman grieving for the loss of her loved ones. However, these notebooks did not bring the public any closer to knowing who actually killed the Bordens. And so the mystery endures, as does the popular rhyme about the Borden murders. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. After diving into the life of Lizzie Borden and the grisly murders of the Borden discovery, the tales of Hans Smith, the only Catholic priest ever executed in the States, then read about, that's other things they want you to read about. Yeah, I think that's the end of that one. Yeah. And then we got down here some comments. It says Lizzie did not do it at less the other part of her by known documentation. When a person is in a traumatic state, a lot can happen to the mind. Here's a split personality. The one that did the killings was the other personality that stays hidden until she needs her. She comes out with Lizzie's knowledge. Look for any documentation of Lizzie's social appearance. Did anyone notice if she was not herself before the murders, like a trance-like state, talking to herself? There's a lot of things. Somebody right here says it was John Morris, their uncle. He is a butcher that got boot tracks off his shoes, so that they wouldn't get caught. I don't know. Hello all. My wife is a direct descendant of Lizzie, and we have the Borden family Bible, burial plot records, and one of my wife's family had tone of the 3 handwritten transcripts of the trial, but took and sold it. What a shame to lose family history. Like, our daughter and her girlfriend spent the night in the Borden house and said it was really creepy knowing what happened there. In this case, we have Lizzie's uncle, John Vickham Morris, who had gotten into a big argument with Andrew Borden over a loan for an investment for Borden, which Morris had not repaid on the night before the murders. After the argument, Morris spent the night in the house in the guest room where Abby Borden was found dead the next morning and likely was killed shortly after breakfast. And it just so happens that John Vickham Morris is a trained butcher who is known to carry a large butcher's cleaver for killing animals with him at all times. A cleaver would leave marks similar to an axe and easily penetrate flesh and bone. And Morris's timeline changed to make his alibi not really fit as an alibi. He could have easily returned to the Borden house to kill Andrew, yet the police failed to notice this. So despite Morris having the motive, means, and opportunity, police arrested Lizzie simply because she had the misfortune of being at the house that fateful morning. If Morris killed Abby first, was it because of an argument and then he had to kill Andrew? Or did Abby find something in his room that she might have shared with Andrew, so he had to kill her? And then Morris had to kill Andrew because Andrew would know he killed Abby. Seems to me the real mystery is, how did the police fail to charge the correct suspect? That is another thing. Like, they say Thank you, Tay-Bay Love. Good morning. I'm over here reading this story. So the thing about it is, that's why they sit there and they say, did Abby really do it? Because some people are saying, did she have the strength to really do that? Because that takes a lot to be able to bludgeon someone, and people don't understand that. And some people think the brother-in-law or uncle or whatnot, he actually did it, and he claimed he had an alibi and really didn't. And then some people really believe Lizzie did it. There was also on this other thing that I found. And thank you, Tay-Bay Love. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, I just had to do the super chat. So, and we're gonna look over here. We're talking about the Lizzie Borden case. We're gonna go over here to share this tab instead. This actually goes into the different possible suspects, right? We've already read the part about where the bodies were found and all that stuff, and Andrew Borden and Abby, but and here's the trial section. We just read that a while ago, right? But I thought, no, this one doesn't have it. There was I guess I'm looking at the wrong one. But they had, oh no, there's some information here that's a little different than others. So we may go through it. We already know about where he was, he had been taking a nap and he was covered in blood. We already know he got bludgeoned on the sofa where he was taking his nap. Now, here's the thing. How do we know that this seems to me to be a crime of passion in a sort of way. So, I mean, maybe that's why they thought Lizzie had done it. Because to hit somebody that many times and to do it that severely, a lot of times that is a crime of passion. It's right here. I'm trying to find, it says, Dr. Bowen, who was the first physician in the house, conveyed a bone-chilling observation. He stated that Andrew was lying on the sofa in a natural position as if he were fast asleep. He was found in a dressing gown with his foot resting on the carpet below him. There were no signs of a struggle. No furniture was disrupted. No indication that the body was under stress. Additionally, Dr. Bowen believed that the murder weapon was actually an axe, which struck the left side of Andrew's head with cuts near his eye, nose, and ears. Dr. Bowen hypothesized, why can't I speak this morning? Y'all pray for me, that the murderer attacked Andrew from behind with great speed. What more, there was blood on the floor and walls, but nothing to fully represent the 13 strikes to the head that the victim endured. It was clear by the bleeding wounds that the attack was recent. Abby Borden. Abby Borden's body was discovered in the guest bedroom, and it appeared she was in the middle of making the bed as John Morse, Lizzie's uncle, had spent the night in the room while visiting. Her body was found between the bed and the dressing case near a corner. Dr. Bowen's analysis of the scene suggested that Abby was initially struck from behind. When she turned, the murderer continued to strike her 17 more times, ensuring her death. In similar fashion to Andrew, there was no indication of a struggle or disruption to the room. With some further investigation, it was discovered that Abby was dead approximately 2 hours prior to Andrew being slain. Police found it odd that Abby was deceased for 2 hours and yet not discovered by Lizzie or Bridget. The investigation sent police into a whirlwind. How could someone have murdered Abby silently and then taken Andrew's life 2 hours later? Was the murderer in the house the whole time? Furthermore, it was estimated that Dr. Bowen examined Andrew's body a mere 15 minutes after he was murdered. How was the assailant able to leave the house so quickly without being seen? The police faced relentless public pressure with a watchful eye from the community to apprehend a suspect. They found Lizzie Borden's behavior to be odd and unemotional. She was given several different reports about the incident to different people. Reports indicated the family was unwell just before the murders, and a drugstore clerk identified Lizzie as the girl in the store looking for hydrochloric acid. Police officers apprehended Lizzie and her sister Emma's clothes, as well as 2 axes and a hatchet head with a broken handle. After Lizzie was informed that she was a suspect in the murders, her friend Alice Russell found her ripping up a dress, stating that she was going to burn it because it was covered in paint. By August 11th, she was arrested and detained. It says Alice Russell, Lizzie's friend, testified that when she arrived at the scene, Lizzie had no blood on her hair, hands, or shoes. She also noted that she remembered the police having to break into Lizzie's room during a search because the door was locked. The defense never challenged Russell on the statement Lizzie made about burning her dress. The medical examiner closely studied Abby and Andrew's stomachs for poisoning, as Lizzie had been identified as attempting to purge and poison. However, the medical examiner found no trace of poison in either of the victims' bodies. He also noted there was a drop of blood the size of a pin found on a white skirt owned by Lizzie, but no blood was found on the hatchets located in the cellar of the home. In regards to another theory, Lizzie was questioned about her relationship with her stepmother. It was speculated that she had ill will towards her and that she believed Abby married her father for money. Lizzie and her sister Emma were not pleased when their father distributed some of their family's property to Abby's family. When asked if she was cordial with Abby, Lizzie stated, "That depends upon the idea of cordiality." She continued to say, "I do not regard her as my mother, though she came there when I was young. I decline to say whether my relations between her and myself were those of mother and daughter or not." On June 20th, 1893, the jury was sent to deliberate after hearing closing arguments. They remained there for 1 hour and 10 minutes and finally returned with a not guilty verdict. When the verdict was read, applause broke out in the courtroom. Even though the trial had concluded, the unsolved crime continued to unsettle the public, fostering a perception that justice had gone astray. Lizzie passed away on June 1st, 1927. 2 years after her death, the new residents of her house stumbled upon a mysterious hammer beneath the barn door and cost Bristol County $200 to determine if it was not the murder weapon. To this day, the mystery of the Borden murders remains unsolved. So, to this day, mysteriously, there are other people besides the uncle. Good morning, Red Wings. But pretty much to this day, with the Lizzie Borden, situation, they don't really know who did it. There probably be there's people who can speculate on both sides. You can try to put it together. I'm trying to actually look up the other suspects so that y'all can get a difference, because there's actually different people who they believe could have possibly did this crime, besides Lizzie Borden herself. Okay, here we go. We're going to share this tab instead, and I'm going to read this to you. Oh, you're fine, Red Wings, and make sure you have a good day at work. And just thank you for being here, knowing you're at work and stuff. But no, the Lizzie Borden case, she basically they suspected her of being the murderer when it could have been anybody at this point. We're not 100%. David Anthony was a suspect. He was a local gentleman vying for Lizzie's affection. Andrew Borden refused to give his permission for David and Lizzie to marry, so David took action. Rumor has it he killed Andrew and Abby to liberate Lizzie from their strict control. In an interview with Jack Wiggins of Ellsworth, Maine, American, a nurse by the name of Ruby Frances Cameron told of an interaction she had with Lizzie herself while on her deathbed. Nora saw David, livid with rage, go to the woodshed, grab the axe, and murder both Mr. and Mrs. Borden. Nora rushed for Maggie, and she called Jack, and they wiped up some of the mess and escaped in the meat cart. That was a regular business in those days. I took care of Miss Borden for 1 week, and then I knew the whole story from an innocent woman always condemned by the unbelieving public. The meat cart used in the escape was procured by Ruby's mother, Margaret Cameron, who asked her fiancé, later husband, John, for assistance. Unfortunately, there is no further evidence to support this theory. Suspect 2, Dr. Seabury Bowen. Dr. Seabury Bowen lived across the street from the Borden family. He also happened to be their doctor. On the day before the murder, Abby Borden crossed the street to his home to report that both she and her husband, Andrew, were violently ill and had possibly been poisoned. The next day, Dr. Seabury Bowen was one of the first to the scene and was in good position to remove the murder weapon from the house, being as he was the doctor. He was never searched, even when he left the crime scene early on to send Emma a telegram in Fairhaven. He quickly medicated Lizzie, first with bromocaffeine, then morphine, which led some to suspect that he was trying to protect her from interrogation. But why? Well, it was believed that he felt very sympathetic towards Lizzie. He would often attend church with her, unchaperoned, whenever her family was out of town. Knowing her situation, he could have committed the act on his own or assisted Lizzie in the act. One witness, in an unsigned letter dated December the 2nd, 1892, declared their concern for the doctor. On the day of the murder, I was coming towards Fall River. I met Dr. Bowen and a young man in a carriage driving so fast that I thought at the time that someone was dying. I am well acquainted with him, but I never saw him look so wild. It was about 15 minutes to 11. The doctor had hold of the reins with both hands, driving for dear life. Has Dr. Bowen ever been questioned where he was on the morning of the murder? This is the truth and nothing but the truth. Suspect 3, John Morris. John Morris was the brother-in-law to Andrew Borden and to Emma and Lizzie. He was just Uncle John. On the night before the murder, John came to visit, arriving with nothing more than a suit on his back. Andrew had requested an in-person chat with him to discuss business. The chat turned into an argument as John had lost money in a joint livestock venture. Andrew was infuriated. The night John slept in the guest room, that would later be the room where Abby Borden was killed. When John left the house the next morning, it could easily have been after the murders. Some claim he got into an argument with Abby as she was tidying the room, and that argument led to her death. He left the home and went to visit his niece Annie, who was ill. When questioned later by the police, he claimed that he returned to the Borden house at noon. That time later changed to 11:30 a.m. and then to 11:20 a.m. Dr. Bowen was already at the scene at 11:32 a.m. With his timeline changing not once but twice, can he be trusted at all? And that is a picture of actual dude. He looks Amish for some reason. Just saying. Suspect 4, Hiram Harrington, was Andrew Borden's brother-in-law, having married Andrew's only sister, Lorena. During questioning, Lizzie was asked, "Do you know if anybody that your father had bad feelings toward or who had bad feelings toward your father?" "I know of one man who might not friendly with him. They have not been friendly for years." "Who?" they asked. "Mr. Hiram C. Harrington." Later, during his own testimony, Heron aimed to take any suspicion off himself and place it right back on Lizzie. "When the perpetrator of this foul deed is found, it would be one of the household. I had a long talk with Lizzie yesterday, Thursday, the day of the murder, and I am not at all satisfied with statements or demeanor. She was too solicitous about his comfort and showed a side of character I have never knew or even suspected her to possess. She helped him off with one coat and on with another, and assisted him in an easy incline on the sofa, and desired to place an afghan over him, also to adjust the shutters so the light would not disturb his slumber. This is something she could not do, even if she felt and no one who knows her could have made me believe it. She is very strong-willed and will fight for what she considers her rights. She went to the barn where she stayed 20 minutes or a half hour looking for some lead from which to take sinkers for fishing lines, as she was going to Marion next week. So I don't know, that was just a person that her father and they didn't have good relations. It was believed, suspect William S. Borden, it was believed that Andrew Borden had an illegitimate son, William Billy. This son, angered with his father's over money issues, killed him and his wife Abby. It was believed that Lizzie took pity and helped him cover it up. Suspect 6, Bridget Sullivan. Bridget Sullivan was the Borden family maid. That's what she looked like. On the day of the murder, Bridget was in her third-floor bedroom resting after washing windows when just before 11:10 a.m. she heard Lizzie call out from downstairs, "Maggie, come quick. Father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him." Bridget was sometimes called Maggie, which happened to be the name of a previous family maid. After the investigation and trial, Bridget moved to Montana, never to discuss the case again. This until she was on her deathbed. Bridget had a friend, Minnie Green, who had migrated from Ireland to Butte. Bridget said word to her that she wanted to see her and tell her something in person. It was then that Bridget finally told of her time with the Borden family. She claimed that she liked Lizzie and often took her part during troubles in the house. She even admitted that she helped Lizzie out at the trial. Minnie didn't press for more information as her friend was so ill. She promised she would never tell what she had been told and kept that promise until after Bridget had died. Then Minnie turned to a librarian in Butte and told her about her visit with Bridget. Abby Borden. Emma Borden, the oldest of the Borden children, was 41 at the time her father and stepmother were killed. Some believe it was her tumultuous relationship with her father that drove her to kill. Emma's real mother, Sarah, died when she was just 12, leaving her to care for her younger sister, Lizzie. When their father remarried, their relationship turned to ice. Emma and Lizzie did not get along with Abby, and they rarely sat for dinner with their parents. Emma and Lizzie both had repeated arguments with their father over property, inheritance, and money. Just months before they were killed, Andrew had gifted a portion of his real estate to various members of Abby's family. After a family argument in July of 1892, the girls took an extended vacation to New Bedford. Emma returned to Fall River just a week before the murders, and Lizzie returned but stayed at a local rooming house for 4 days before returning home. While there is only speculation and no evidence to support this theory, it is also believed that Emma had one more reason to kill her parents. She was in love with a man who was much lower status than she was. Her father opposed the marriage, leaving Emma to grow old alone. Did Lizzie kill her parents? Was she alone in the endeavor, or was she completely innocent? We will never know for sure. See, that's just a few of the people they suspect, to be the... Yeah, my pick is the brother-in-law. I believe that, in my opinion, I think he had the, I think he had the means and the thing, and also the fact that he didn't bring anything with him supposedly, and then and it was the money thing, right? It was them fighting, and the fact that he was in the bedroom and she was in there cleaning the bedroom. I think he went in there to talk to her or do something. Heck, you never know. He might have been Abby might have been having relations with him. We don't know. It was crazy back in those days, and might have been a crime of passion, because that does seem more like a crime of passion to do that to someone, or like something serious went down there. We'll never know exactly who did it, but one thing we can note, with the doctor seeing her father within 15 minutes and Lizzie not having a speck of blood on her, she did not have time to change when she screamed for the maid in order to do that, because she would have had blood all over her with that. So whoever did it must have run. I'm gonna say, in my opinion, I rule out Lizzie, because she, within 15 minutes, he'd only been dead for 15 minutes. She would have had it all over her. There would have been something on her somewhere. Ain't no way. I'm gonna agree with you, Toxic Orchid. I believe Abby was chewing him out or something like that. And she seemed like she was hard nosed, and I believe that's why the girls didn't like her neither, because she kept them straight whether they liked it or not. You know what I'm saying? I believe she was a hard nosed person and whatnot. And this is the way it's gonna be kind of situation. And I believe she was cussing him out, and he did it in crime passion. And he's like, oh crap, now I gotta take him out. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that they never really, I think they probably also missed a lot of the evidence, because people were in and out of the house and all this other stuff. So I think a lot of evidence was muddied. And you know, back in those days, their investigation skills weren't quite as good as they are nowadays. Hey, Miss Jean. Good morning, Miss Jean. So they most likely missed a lot of evidence in the Lizzie Borden case. They went by people having alibis back then, if you know anything about it. If you had more than one person say that you were somewhere, they believed that alibi, even if you weren't there, right? So necessarily they would rule you out if you had an alibi, right? So, you know, back in those days, they tried their very best, but obviously they probably missed a lot of things. You know, they didn't probably check a lot of things they should have. Look for prints around the house, shoe prints, match up the shoe prints, look at people's shoes, see if they had any marks on their hands and body. There was a lot of things even back in those days. They may not have been able to do DNA back in those days, but there was a lot of things that, you know, simply they could have looked more into. But also you got to think about, now we do have more, you know, technology and more ways to look into investigations. Yeah, they probably didn't do much questioning wise, and regards to the alibis, they just took their words for it if they had an alibi back in those days. You know, and just like Lizzie got off on this crime, let's say Lizzie did do it. Let's play devil's advocate, right? Because other people said that they saw her come out of the barn. You know, back in those days, it was a lot of things with trials and crimes and everything. It was by word of mouth. So if you had 5 people stating you did something, even if you didn't do it, you could be convicted back in those days without any physical evidence, because, you know, it was different than it is nowadays. Witnesses were a huge thing back in the day, because they didn't have like what we have nowadays with DNA and, you know, all the different ballistics that they can check things and all that. Yeah, I heard that one too. They were sitting there saying the girls were like going through money, and the stepmother, the reason they didn't like her was because she wouldn't give them a lot, and was, you know, they say the thing about, you know, the stepmothers, that she was trying to take everything from the girls and give it to her family. So there was like a lot of, like, if you look into the family in general, like the brother-in-laws, you know, the one that was married to his sister, the brother-in-law of Abby, and all these other people, it's a lot of evil stuff done for money. Like this entire thing, they took these 2 people out based on money. And I believe they tried to frame Lizzie and her sister to get the money. because if the two people, the person that's going to get the money is convicted, then it goes to the next relative. So if we really look around, it was one of the relatives who probably did this. It does seem like it was over money. It seems like it was over money. It's really sad, you know, but back in those days, people did that, and the reason it hit the town so hard is this was a upper middle, like upper class family, for this to happen to. You know, they didn't really pay attention, I hate to say this, to the poor people, but you know, for this to happen in the rich, oh my God. Hey, Miss Muffy love. But yes, they did own a lot of property. They had a lot of money. They were considered, you know, high class. They owned a lot of businesses and different things. So this was all, in my opinion, the Lizzie Borden murders, for Abby and Mr. Borden, Andrew, it was all for money. Yeah, back then they didn't have forensics DNA. It was mostly circumstantial evidence. It was mostly just hearsay. It was he say, she say back in the day. And if you had somebody that knew you didn't do something or said you didn't do something, even if they knew you did it, you could get away with it back in the day. So technically, you know, we can all have our theories on it, but obviously it'll never be fully solved. There's no way. They don't have any of the original stuff where you could try to do DNA or anything like that. It's safe over here, Miss Kimberly. It's safe over here, girl. You come on over here. We was just talking about Lizzie Borden. I'm pretty sure you know who Lizzie. Yeah, there is so many movies out there about the Lizzie Borden case and about, you know, what happened with Abby and Andrew. There's so much mystery revolved around it. There's so much, you know, a lot of people think there's a lot of supernatural aspects to it. So it is such a large topic. You know what I'm saying? Who done got your nerves bad, Miss Kimberly? Who done got your nerves bad, girl? Tell me about it, girl. Don't let nobody get your nerves bad. But yeah, we just talking about the Lizzie Borden, and pretty much a lot of people know about Lizzie Borden. You've seen the movie, you've seen it in a TV show, you've seen something about it. You've heard the little singing thing, you know, the creepy little singing thing where they go, Lizzie Borden took an axe. You know, that thing with the creepy little children. But, you know, Lizzie Borden and also now, depending on the situation with, I'm going to read this part of, y'all chill out. My dogs are being a little crazy. Y'all know my dogs, how they are. I was trying to get, because there was documentation of what was left to the sisters, and I was trying to figure that out. It says after the trial, the Borden sisters moved into a large modern house in the Hill neighborhood in Fall River. Around the time Lizzie began using her name Elizabeth A. Borden at their new house, which Elizabeth dubbed Maplecroft, they had a staff that included live-in maids, a housekeeper, and a coachman. Because Abby was ruled to have died before Andrew, her estate went first to Andrew, and then at his death passed to his daughters as part of his estate. A considerable settlement, however, was paid to settle claims by Abby's family. Despite the acquittal, Lizzie was ostracized by Fall River society. Her name again brought into the public eye when she was accused of shoplifting in Providence, Rhode Island in 1897. In 1905, shortly after her argument over a party that Elizabeth had given for actress Nancy O'Neill, Emma moved out of the house and never saw her sister again. Now, I want to see a picture of this Nancy O'Neill. Y'all know I am very I wonder if they did have a thing. And this is the lady, Nancy O'Neill, Gertrude Lampson, better known professionally as Nancy O'Neill, was an American stage and film actress who performed in plays in various theaters around the world, who worked predominantly in the United States between 1890s and 1930s. At the height of her career, she was promoted to on theatrical bills and in period trade publications and newspapers as a American Bernhardt. O'Neill was born in Oakland, California, to George Lamson and Ari Finley. O'Neill's first performance in the professional production was in a role of the nun in Sarah the Alcatraz Theater. This is the lady who supposedly had a thing with Lizzie Borden. In 1904, O'Neill met acquitted murder suspect Lizzie Borden while in Boston. The two had close friendship when incited considerable gossip. O'Neill was referenced as a character in the musical Lizzie Borden, a musical tragedy in 2 acts, where she was played by Swellen Vance. The woman implied romantic relations was explored, as well as a 2010 play, Nance O'Neill, by David Foley, and the 2006 novel Miss Lizzie by Walker Shatterwalt. O'Neill was also cited as a character in the play by William Norfolk, The Lights Are Warm and Colored, set in 1905. It uses Lizzie's friendship with O'Neill and other theatrical players as a vehicle for a play within a play within a play. The actors recreate scenes from the murder trial to improv-like setting, coached and criticized by Lizzie and Emma. The play implies Lizzie was innocent and the real perpetrator was the maid who makes surprise visit at the end. Now, it does say that O'Neill married in 1916 Alfred Hickman, a British-born film actor. So, Lizzie passed away June 1st, 1927. So, the lady got married before Lizzie passed away, and she was 66 years old. Lizzie was ill in her last years following a removal of her gallbladder. She died of pneumonia on June 1st, 1927 in Fall River at the age of 66. Funeral details were not published and few attended. 9 days later, Emma died from chronic nephritis in a nursing home in New Market, New Hampshire, having moved to this location in 1923, both from health reasons and to avoid renewed attention following the publication of another book of the murders. Hold on, let me go click on this so we can read. Following the publication of another book of the murders, the Border sisters, neither of whom had ever married, were buried side by side in the family plot in Oak Grove Cemetery. At the time of her death, Borden was worth over $250,000, equivalent to $5,884,000 in 2023. She owned a house on the corner of French Street and Belmont Street, several office buildings, shares in several utilities, 2 cars, and a large amount of jewelry. She left $30,000, equivalent to $706,000 in 2023, to Fall River Animal Rescue League, and $500, which was equivalent to $12,000, in trust for perpetual care of her father's grave. Her closest friend and a cousin each received $6,000, substantial sums at the time of the estate distribution in 1927, and numerous friends and family members each received between $1,000 and $5,000 in 2023. So, technically, back in those days, she was considered rich. Like rich. Yeah, she was considered rich, y'all. She was considered rich, and she had good money back in those days, because she not only owned the house on the corner of French Street and Belmont Street, several office buildings, shares in several utilities, 2 cars, a large amount of jewelry, and a substantial amount of money. She was worth quite a bit of money, and she did split up her money. She gave some to the Animal Rescue League. She spent $500 in a trust to take care of her father's grave. Her closest friends and cousins received money. She distributed it to a lot of family, and because neither her nor her sister ever had children. They never got married. There's a story behind that says that the father was very strict on who the daughters could marry, and it's really sad to watch that. It is really, really sad to watch the fact that the daughters, there was men that was interested in them, but they wasn't considered good enough for the boarding girls. But it is so sad that if you think about it, they lived as spinsters. And, Lizzie was, a lot of men would never want to be with Lizzie because of where they claim she, was the murderer. But the same thing for Emma. Emma did love a man, and her father wouldn't allow her to get married to him. There was another guy that was supposedly interested in Lizzie, and every time a guy was interested in the girls, he would run them off. Like they wasn't good enough to be in the Borden family. Like they had to be of a certain class and a certain this and that. And it's sad because they could have gotten married and had children and, had a fun time. And, it's really sad. Because, they had each other though. But imagine if you didn't. Hey, Corio, my beautiful. Imagine if you wasn't the person who made your father pass away and your stepmother, right? And let's say that, you wanted to have children, you wanted to get married, or you wanted to do this, you wanted to do that, which some people suspect that Lizzie herself may have actually been a lesbian. Back in those days, that was frowned upon. And a lot of families did not agree with it or whatnot. So, that's also very sad because she should just be happy. But back in those days, a lot of things were different than they are now. Like now we yeah, they did say that the stepmother was actually very mean to the girls. And that's why they didn't see her as a mother figure, even though she basically helped raise them from the time they were very little. Because their mother passed away. And, there was even some rumors about like their mother's passing. Like there was some speculation around that because supposedly their mother was actually like well-to-do and she was from an upper class family and everything herself, right? And that's why Andrew and her got together. It was literally like, two big families getting together. And then it was, there was rumors about her mother that the stepmom had something to do with that or something else. It was crazy. There's been all kinds of speculation. Some people say that Abby was an evil stepmom. Some say she was a good one. Me, myself, and I don't know, but it is curious to note that if you had been in a child's life from the time they were very little, and I mean very little, right? That the children wouldn't see her as mom, because most people, if you come into a child's life when they're 1, 2, 3 years old, right, and you're good to them, they're gonna consider you their mother or their father, right? So it's very curious to me that the girls really didn't like her and did not consider her their mother in a way when she stepped in to be their mother. So it does make me see that for neither girl to like her, it had to have been something going on there, right? Because even if one of them, or they're rebelling like teenagers or whatnot, one of them would still show compassion and love. But it seems like neither of them liked her at all. They wouldn't call her mother. They called her by her name. They called her Abby. They did not say stepmother. They did not say mom. So, I mean, Abby Borden was not well liked by her children, suppose. Well, her stepchildren. And they never did stay. Abby never had children, obviously, by Andrew. So that was also strange that they never had kids. Hey, Miss Catherine. Yes, there is a lot of YouTubers, Miss Jean, that have done spirit boxes there, and different things over there at the Borden house. And you can literally stay. There is you can literally, Lizzie, I'm gonna go to show you the website. They actually have a website for the bed and breakfast. And we're gonna actually go to the actual website. This is what the actual website really looks like. You can literally go stay at this house and do spirit boxes and different things. You know, they have you can book a room, book a tour. You know, they have all the information, accommodations, 7 days a week, 6 rooms, including 2 suites with 2 beds each. Each bedroom is maintained in the late Victorian style. However, all new features brand new mattresses. Tours, 90-minute guided house tours are offered daily from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Outdoor walking ghost tours, nightly separating, starting at 7:30 p.m. Interactive hands-on ghost haunts on the first floor and basement at 10 p.m. Virtual ghost tours and house tours are available on demand 24/7, so you can enjoy the Lizzie Borden experience from anywhere in the world. Whatever brings you to visit the hollowed home, that Lizzie Borden's house is a place where you'll have a memorable and fun experience. Ask us questions or visit us in person for an experience you'll take with you to the grave. And if you're staying in Massachusetts or are looking to explore, we highly recommend taking our ghost tour in Boston and the best ghost tour in Salem. So, you know, you can book these things. They actually have like pictures of the rooms. This is what the rooms look like. You know, and you can even shop and buy like little things from their little shop. Obviously, you know, they do have it's all about Lizzie, because some people think that she actually did the thing and everything, right? But they have all different kind of things. You know, you can book the whole house. Let's see what booking the house does. A house reservation includes a stay up for 20 people and total 8 beds and 6 bedrooms. For additional guests may be added by request. Please note that this does not include filming or any broadcasting rights from the house, and this must be discussed separately. There are 2 options available for renting the entire house. Non-exclusive use. Book all the rooms in the house. This does not include exclusive use to the common areas inside the house, which consists of the first floor and basement, for the extended portion of the ghost tour that lasts 30 minutes from 9 a.m. to 9:30, and the ghost hunt from 10 p.m. to midnight. To book all the rooms in the house without exclusive use, simply book all the rooms in the house. Exclusive use. All rooms with exclusive use of the house and amenities included. This option blocks out the ability for others to partake in the evening activities of the house. Exclusive use of the house costs an additional $1,500 to $2,000 in October and includes a staff member to perform a guided ghost hunt, equipment supplied, or a tour of your choice for your group. Both events will last 2 hours and must end by midnight. A Lily doll or official Lizzie Borden acts of your choice, breakfast for your group. All house reservations may include additional options for any of or all rooms are selected. Add a axe or Lily doll on the pillow, romance package for any room, any combination of souvenirs placed in each room in advance, projectors for viewing Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, or connect to your phone. Add a cot to accommodate more sleepers. So you can literally book the whole house, or just book a room. You know, you can book a tour. They have all that. Um, I want to like, let's redo that right quick. Cause that, did you saw how that looked messed up? Let's go back to the original part right here. And to book a room, select room. They have Andrew and Abby's suite, Andrew Jennings' room, Bridget Sullivan's room, Hosea Knowlton's room, John Morris's room, Lizzie and Emma's suite. Second floor, third floor, whole house. So you can literally get a whole second floor, third floor room. Isn't that really cool though? And now the Amityville Horror House, the people who actually owned the house have tried to change the look of it because they have so many people that trespass at the Amityville house. I've absolutely been, hey Miss White Tanya, I've absolutely been by the Amityville house in Amityville, New York. Drove by it and everything. The people have almost, I think at one point they tried to change the address to the house. So that, oh, yep. See, look, Miss Toxic Orchid already saying it, and I was sitting there saying it too. Toxic Orchid said it. They changed the number and everything to try to keep people from, because people literally try to come on the property all the time. And they don't want nobody over there. So, you know, especially during Halloween, they have a lot of people that trespass and all this other stuff. They've even tried to change like the outside of the house and all this other stuff. I've absolutely went by the Amityville house, and they did try to change it a little bit so that it's not as, you know, seen as it used to be. I do like the I have researched the Amityville house, obviously. Now, here's the thing about the Amityville house, right? You know, the family that moved in after that supposedly had some stuff, but then every person after that has not had any experience that I know of in that house. Even the new people say they don't really have experiences like that in the house. So some people actually believe that the son who claimed that was just crazy, and or he worked for the mob himself, and he was just trying to get out of it by using an insanity plea. And then some people say that he might have actually been innocent and somebody else walked in and did it. But, you know, there's a thing around that situation too, when it comes to the Amityville, murders. That house doesn't look exactly like it does when you see it in the pictures, online anymore. They have repainted it and tried to make it look different. They did change those windows too. Yeah, I think the Lutzes were trying to get money too, and yet, if you like hear any of the locals, right? If you go to Amityville, New York, that house has changed hands. I think it was 2 times after the Lutz situation, right? And nobody after, literally after the Lutz situation, has reported nothing going on in that house. Like it's just a regular house to them. Like there's nothing going on, nothing paranormal. Um, so you know that's what some of them say. But you know that's a lot of the trespassers do get in trouble for going over to the Amityville house. Um, but so you know, um, there's a lot of different like the CW house. You talking about the CW house that's in Claude, Texas? Now I do know down here in Mississippi, we have a lot of haunted houses and a lot of like historical houses that are like there's one in my original town that I'm from in Aberdeen that you can literally take tours of and everything, and they actually used to do weddings and stuff like that down there. And there's actually another one that I think that's in Myrtle or something like that. We have actually quite a few of them down here that are extremely haunted, and they talk about them all the time. Yeah, the supposed house that was in The Exorcist. Yeah, I've heard about that one. And if y'all didn't know, that one hotel that was in The Shining, it was actually a real place too, and they had tried to basically it was starting to get to where nobody was wanting to go to the hotel anymore. So that was his way of kind of giving them advertisement for people to come. But that's actually or was a real hotel. I don't think it's in service anymore. What was the name of the real it was oh crap. I just had it. I think it was the Stanley. The Stanley Hotel. But I don't think the original it may still be going. Well, no, they still have it going, but I don't know if that's the original. You know, the original from the show, but yeah, that he was literally trying to get it more people and whatnot, because it was he stayed there pretty much when he was writing books. The police video has been debunked, and Shanna's friend was there with her daughter. It was her daughter's voice, and you see her in the living room. But I think, you know, that's crazy how we all know how we all know of like a haunted place that may or may not be close to us or something like that. And some of them have been proven to be falsities. Other ones, you know, they really are. Now there's this one that's not far from me, and I need my brother eventually to show me exactly where it's at, because I can't he never took me there. He said he would never go back. Supposedly on one of these back roads up here, there's this house that's in the woods, right? And if you go up the gravel drive, there's a tree in the middle of the gravel drive. Well, when you pull up to the house, men and women have different experiences. So the men see a dark figure coming after them, and they feel really eerie, and they feel like bad, and they literally take off running. The women, however, hear a woman screaming bloody murder, and like you hear basically her getting murdered right in the house. And you know, they literally hear her begging for her life and all this other stuff, and it freaks out both parties. They end up running back to the vehicles. Most people can't stand to stay there for more than a few minutes because it's so scary to them, and everything. And then they said when they tore out of there, when they went back by the tree, they saw a body hanging. And that one, my brother said he would never go back to. He said he would take me as far as the turn on, but he would not go back to that house, no matter how much money you paid him. He said he would never go back there. That's how scary it was for him. He said he would never go back. And so, you know, that's when you look into these situations, some of them really do have hauntings, and others I think they drum up a lot of the hauntings or fakeness to get money and attention out of them. Because some of it has been proven, to be fake in some ways. And so I do think that it depends on the situation. But I do have to get off here in a minute. My father-in-law is going to be here in just a little while, and we're going to visit. He's leaving tomorrow, so I want to visit him before he leaves. I do want to say thank you to everyone who was here. And, so if you have Monday will be coming up, if you have a mystery you want to talk about, or you have you're a moderator and you want to talk about that, or we do messy Mondays if you want to talk about the mess, that'll be coming up Monday. If you have anything that you would like to speak about in any conversations next week, you have any things that you want to be the topic of conversation for Topic Tuesday, you can leave a comment under this video once it ends. I want you all, you have to be a believer and a skeptic at the same time. I do believe that, Toxic Orchid. You have to be somewhere down the middle, because you can't believe everything you hear, and you can't, not believe some things. So you have to kind of look at it from all perspectives and all sides. That's just my opinion. But I hope everyone has a blessed and beautiful day. I will see y'all all on these streets. Oh, the White House. Red Wings. That's hilarious. As I was reading that, I was going, oh, what is the spookiest house in the world? And then I read the last part. Child, that made me laugh, y'all. This one's funny right here. Because as you read across and then you read the bottom, it finally hits you. Y'all have a blessed and beautiful day. And thank y'all again for another amazing show. I will see y'all on these streets, and hopefully you all have a blessed and beautiful day. And remember to take care of yourself today and all days. And I love you, my beautiful angels. And y'all have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Happy holidays in case I don't see you before then, which I probably will, but just in case. And much love, beautiful people. Thank you all. And make sure you hit that like button. Become a member. We're going to have some fun in the members only chats. We're going to do game nights with what they call Jackbox games. We're going to have some fun. And please make sure you like, share, subscribe, become a member. If you enjoy the content, you can always hit the Cash App. I want to thank everyone for every little bit, because everything helps. Thank you from the biggest supporters to the smallest. For the people that just come by, hit that like button. Thank you all. I am very appreciative of every single one of you. And you are what make this channel amazing. Thank you so very much. And bye. Have a great day, everyone. Love y'all. Bye.
The TUPELO, I'm reppin' my hood, so love I'm gon' show. From the TUPELO, I'm reppin' my hood to the day that I go. From the TUPELO, I'm reppin' my hood, so love I'm gon' show. From the TUPELO, I'm ripping my hood to the day that I go.
I'm from the west side, we don't need no introduction, this was the best ride. We all big boy rolling and holding, come take a test drive. Hilldale, Evergreen, Glenkirk, Outer Street, bending every corner on the west, and that's where I'll be. Sunroof back, Captain C banging down 1800, chunking up the deuce to my post slanging down on 1800. Show no love to the ladies that's training round on 1800, making time stand still, crystalline swinging down on 1800. Watching out for them knuckleheads that be staying round on 1800. Big rims and low pros be blanging round on 1800. Better completely change the way you're thinking about round 1800. Really hate to see you boys get left slanking around 1800. Out of street got some history, just let Captain C lay it out. If I don't finish it all on this one, let the second verse break it out. Remember the blue one promising OG standing back there by 60 deep. Bull walking, saw blue a big Anthony using P.
I'm from the TUP. I'm repping my